From everything I learned from my loving mother, who has been in the military my whole life, and my estranged father, it's that laws equal morality. And as a chef must sharpen his knife every now and again, I must sharpen my proverbial knife by asking the question, can you beat Fallout New Vegas without breaking any laws? Breaking the law in this scenario is doing an action that would get me either fined or arrested in the subpar state of Nevada, where New Vegas takes place. Anyways, onto the rules. Due to certain laws in conjunction to one another, I am restricting our own personal weaponry to only handguns. And, since owning armor-piercing rounds is illegal, I am also only allowed to use the standard type of ammo that is bought with legal tender from a shop. The second main rule is the fact that I cannot just go balls to the walls and shoot anything or anyone I want. The final rule, while not being a law, still makes the video more interesting. It is that I must be in the hardest difficulty and on hardcore the entire time. There's also some other laws I have to follow that I won't explain here, but you get the whole bit of the video by now.
Officer, please! I need to report a theft!
Yes, finally! What did the thief look like?
Well, he was wearing a monocle.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Waking up from a dastardly headache, I name myself something appropriate for the run and make sure my hair is bright red to help any snipers who want to see if they could finish the job that Benny couldn't. My stats and tag skills were pretty basic, with guns, speech, and science. I do wish I chose repair though, as during this run my armor will get dragged through the mud a lot. For my traits, I took Wild Wasteland and Trigger Discipline because, you know, who doesn't love having random things happen in the challenge run? After getting my things back, I opt to leave them all in a box, as many of the items are just straight up illegal everywhere in America, while others are just too unsightly to be seen wearing and could be considered as me harassing the public wearing them. Stepping out to breathe that wonderful Mojave air, I get bombarded by notifications that the DLC has been successfully installed. I go to the saloon to start the tutorial quest, as getting XP will be quite hard this run. While you could argue that shooting in the direction of the saloon violates some laws, I imagine that Sunny made a verbal contract with Trudy for this to be okay. Going through the motions of the quest, I just let Sunny kill the geckos, making sure to loot them in order to keep Sunny from breaking the law on hunting animals for sport. After a while, we find a good spring settler getting attacked from multiple angles, and this is where we can use one of the first exemptions against killing, self-defense of another. And since this person I'm defending has their life in danger, I'm allowed to use lethal force to keep them alive. Afterwards, I return to the saloon to gain the location of Ringo. We won't be helping Goodsprings with their powder ganger problem, as that would be considered vigilantism and thus against the law. Instead, I found Ringo so I can get a deck of cards for Caravan and then proceed to practically steal all of his caps in 3 games. Since we can't loot bodies to do much of anything that gets us caps, we have to rely on the fact that almost anyone in the Mojave that won't immediately kill you has a severe gambling addiction and will always be down to gamble with you no matter the time of day. Walking to the Mojave outpost through Prim, I first signed into the military base before being hired for my first courier job of the run. My goal is to find out why Nipton is looking like a burnt marshmallow. So, I head over to Nipton and see a most grisly sight indeed.
Yeah! Who won the lottery? I did! Smell that air! Couldn't you just drink it like booze?
Entering Nipton proper, I have a lovely chat with a furry before relaying the news that the town is burnt down and everyone is dead. Since I'm lazy, I attempt to get to Vegas through the quarry when I almost shit my pants from Rogue Deathclaw in the distance. I wasn't recording my mic at the time, but I assure you my screams of terror were so loud that my mother ran into the room thinking I was starring in my own slasher film as the black guy that dies first. Getting to the gun runners with no issue, I look at the items I'm too broke to buy before going to the Atomic Wrangler and going on a winning streak so good I'm banned from gambling there anymore. After that, I'm hired to find people willing to do some prostitution work. Now, prostitution is legal in Nevada. I checked. My search history has looked terrible since starting this run. I grabbed Beatrix the Ghoul, Santiago, and with a little help from Ralph, the infamous Fisto. Now, about Fisto. Since all companies that could have possibly owned the building that Fisto is in have all long been since forgotten, Fisto is considered abandoned property and gives the Garretts every right to own him in some sort of squatter's right loophole. Talking to Francine, I go out to collect some debt certain people have at the casino. While I do think it's scummy to have a debt collector go out and coerce the most likely poor people to give them all they have, these people have debt at a casino, so I don't feel bad for them at all. I ring out the caps from Lady Jane from Fallout 3, don't worry, I'll play that too soon, and after chasing her in a car, politely ask Rex to pay his debts. Sadly, after this, the Garretts asked me to murder an innocent man, so I must part ways and find an employer with bigger pockets and a higher moral standing. So, off I went to the Van Graffs. Since sitting here guarding the door is boring as hell, allow me to tell you the tale of the first job I ever had. During middle school, I was tasked by my local homeowners association to subtly spy on my neighbors to see if anyone was breaking any of the HOA rules. Why did they ask this 250-pound, 12-year-old Hispanic kid that sticks out in the crowd like brown M&Ms? I don't know, but what I do know is that I was damn good at my job. I was raking in easily $50 a week from all the reports I was turning in, but being a snitch to the local big brother puts a target on your back. And come Halloween that year, my luck ran out. Every house I went to took one look at me and denied my fix of that sweet, sweet candy. People were spotting me coming up the street and quickly turning off their lights and running inside. And that was just the adults. The kids. Oh, the kids. They all mocked and jeered at my classy Freddy Fazbear costume. A group of older kids even stole what little candy I was able to acquire. I went home that night ashamed and defeated, and I went to cry in my mother's arms. But that's when she reminded me of something. I'd been making $50 a week for half the year. I had over $1,000 saved up. So, later that week, I went down to a local Walmart and bought every single piece of candy I could find. Entire aisles were cleared out, and I had multiple shopping carts all connected with ropes, and I dragged them around in the store like a caravan. We were stopped a few times by workers, but they couldn't deny me my addiction to sweet treats. To this day, I'm still eating through that candy, albeit at a much slower pace than back then. I'm pretty sure it's gone bad by now, but I'll guess I'll find out when I die from food poisoning. After finishing my duties as a bouncer, I finally get another courier job, where I delivered a discreet package to a guy far away from NCR territory and the Strip. A good courier never looks at what he's delivering or asks any questions. John Baptiste tasks us with bringing gas to him, which basically involves talking to her, then talking to her, then talking to her again, and then talking to her again. But when I approached, I found out that I was being an accomplice to murder, so I attempted to stop the killing from occurring. Needing more caps and XP, I go shut off the caps printing press in the Sunset Sarsaparilla factory before going around and looking at the wreckages of Cass's caravans, ultimately realizing that they were all destroyed by the Van Graffs, who already tried to kill her. I want to help the law and bring justice to the dead caravan workers, as a caravan is just the cousin to a courier, but I'm between a rock and a hard place. I need to steal the keys of one of them to get proof of their misdeeds, but I can't find a way to reveal their injustices legally. With nowhere else to go, I do what my mother did when she was in my place, and go try to join the military. Instead of heading to Cap McCarran immediately, I go to Boulder City, as solving the conflict there is not only legal, as you cannot get punished for guilt-tripping a soldier into disobeying the correct orders, but also is just enough XP to make me level up twice. After getting my rep up, I head over and peacefully interrogate a POW. While I wish I could have laid the hurt on him, it goes against so many laws to beat up someone like him in his position. And after some light sneaking and some running, I changed the outcome from
Train go boom
to train go stop. But, I mean, the train isn't really going anywhere, so is it really stopping? I'm just stopping it from blowing up. I'm not that smart. Weirdly though, after I try to enter the monorail, they gunned me down with no remorse like I was a leech and spy. Anyways, after reloading a save, I use the monorail to get to the Strip, and after talking to Victor, I go use my super sleuthing skills to chat up a prostitute for information on a missing NCR soldier. The information I gain leads me to Westside, a place I've never been to in my almost 500 hours of gameplay. Entering, I'm taken back by a suspicious NPC. I had to check to see if I had mods still installed there, because no way in hell this bad motherfucker clone is in the base game. Talking to Anderson, he says he's never seen the soldier, but from a slight twitch in his face, I can tell that I need to follow this kid into the water supply area of Westside. After making the kid spill the beans, I confront Anderson, and after trying to turn him in for murder, he tries to add on to his sentence with my death. Running away to the outside, I turn around and immediately unload every shot my Magnum had into his center mass. On the way back to McCarran, I resolve my issue with the Garretts by asking this guy for his hat, and then I go talk to the king. His quests are pretty easy, just talking back and forth with NPCs. It was easy until I was pitted against a small group of armed and hostile NCR soldiers. Killing them gives me negative karma, so I can't help the kings with this problem. So they're going to be in perpetual limbo for the rest of this playthrough. A little lost in what to do, I head over to Lucky 38 and have the Birds and Bees talk with Mr. House, who tells me to deal with Benny in any way that I want. Since Benny is an employee of House and the chip is company property, I asked Benny for it back. Instead of getting the chip, I get so many bullets into my body that I die repeatedly. Multiple times repeatedly. That's what that word means. After I finally finish Benny off, I see that his gun has been flung a ways away from where his body is. I take his gun as my own. It is my trophy after dealing with everyone's shit for so long. Volpez the Furry gives me Caesar's love letter on my way back to House, who says to go to Legion Base Camp and activate the skier-trons underneath it. On the way, I go talk to the infamous Caesar and hear why he gave us that love letter.
You're the courier who caused so much trouble for my Legion, and yet you dare come before me. Years of meticulous scheming to place a mole at Camp McCarran. Wasted. So tell me this, because I really want to know. I am feared, with good reason. But you, of all people, dare to come here and stand before me, the mighty Caesar. What were you thinking?
After talking to that loser, I go to the bunker and meet up with House. He again gives me full liberty on what to do with his secure-trons, so cue the short killing compilation. Returning to House, he tasks us with getting the boomers on our side by any means necessary. I'm realizing that he gives me a lot of freedom on how to handle the tasks he asked me to do. I make my rounds during the quests, but accidentally fuck up and send the Crimson Caravan girl to her death. Eventually, I get sent to make the old plane come back up to the surface and get to do my favorite thing in gaming, swimming. Now, I can't swim in real life, on account of a deep fear of the ocean and because I walk around like Dr. House. I've always had a fondness for coral reefs though, and if I ever had to get a grown-up job, I would like to learn to swim just to see them in person. Eventually, I get Pearl to align herself with me, and after that, I have to go deal with Gamora, as they've been radio silent with Amanda the TV for quite some time.
I know a guy, his motto is love thy neighbor. He lives next to a brothel, oh no.
Walking inside this den of legal debauchery, I go talk to the clerk / Mr. House's informant to get a read on what the Gamora staff are up to. She tells me to go talk to Caccino, who I have to either steal his diary off his person or steal it from his room. Now, I'm pretty sure that since he pretty much lives in a company town, a place where the company owns where you live and where you buy food and thus can get the money but they're paying you back, I think it wouldn't be weird for me to go through his unlocked apartment and go snooping through his drawers until I find what I need. This may be counted as a crime, but I don't have any other choices. After reading out Caccino's Christmas letter to Santa, I get him to help me set up an HR meeting with Big Sal and Nero. After me, the head of HR, gets talked at for a little while, Big Sal and Nero decide to do some cool action poses where they point their guns at each other, but don't actually decide to fire. Reloading a save, I talk to Big Sal more, who shows that he isn't a good fit for the company culture as he kills Nero and then Caccino shortly after. Like the Hunter x Hunter anime, I didn't know Caccino, Kite, that long, but for some reason I am extremely angry at his death, so I let loose a volley of punches, all the while Big Sal is opening my chest cavity with maximum precision. I ended another man's life. Chino's death was on my hands. I could have saved him, but instead I let my anger out on Sal. I've committed a crime, one I'll never live down. After this, I did a lot of bad things. Lots of things that made me a bad man. The law was the pinnacle of morality, yet this whole time I've been letting sin and anger infect me like a cazador bite, slowly killing my moral compass. I joined up with the Khans, told them that they shouldn't ally with Caesar. I don't know why I care though, since I'm no better than him. Eventually, I went out east, near Zion, to see the canyons before I turned myself into the NCR. I'm a monster. A terrible, moralist monster. My karma is at an all-time low, and I'm no better than the common fiend. Worse.
Hey, dummy.
Fiverr guy?
The one and only. We need to talk.
Where are we? And why aren't those guys loaded in?
Don't worry about that, RM. We need to re-examine your moral compass. As it stands now, you'll never be able to get much of anything done. You're too caught up in the letter of pre-war bureaucracy. You need to start thinking less about what some old fuddy-duddies wrote on paper and think more about the outcomes of your actions. I mean, what if you came across a missing kid? What if you were skydiving and a Christian baby told legally speaking, what can you consider a snowmobile? And could Arceus really be asked to kill 1 billion lions? Didn't he create the lions? And if the glove the relative form of value of a commodity, if an alien saucer descends at this very moment, expresses the value of that commodity equivalent form as being something wholly different from its very essence of this form as the material commodity itself, like we see that this expression itself indicates some social relation lies at the value and is endowed with the form of value by nature itself. Fuck, marry, kill, but it's just 3 Brendan Frasers from The Whale. So, did you get all that? Your constant adherence to laws from an age long gone has not only hurt those around you, but also has made others perceive you as something you're not. You are a good person, dude, so follow your heart, not the law. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Good night, man.
You too, brah. You too, brah. Okay, this is stupid. Listening to Fiverr Guy's heartwarming words, I go back and talk to Yes Man, who tells me the only way to truly follow my heart is to kill Mr. House. So, I walk up to my current employer, stare at him in the eyes, and mentally prepare myself for the hardest thing I've ever done. Shoot an old, crippled, disabled man. Using my slightly below average intelligence, I use the multiple terminals in my way to enter House's secret goon cave. After insulting him on his terrible VR/tanning bed setup, I pull the plug on an Oculus and walk off to let him die from the musty air that was built up in his room. Going back to Yes Man, I tell him to come over, and he inserts himself into Mr. House's VR chat account, and now has control over House's infinite bot accounts. I check off the white gloves for the quest and go around with the best companion in the game, Veronica, to pick up different holotapes for her current elder. After giving him valuable information on multiple dead paladins' locations and what happened to them, which for any other chapter would be a really big thing, he decides to make me do more legwork for him to go find out why more BOS soldiers aren't reporting back to him. All of this gets him to somewhat trust me, so he lets me help him with his air filtration problem. After swimming in some irradiated water, I decided to get one of the parts from a nearby vault. Unfortunately, the vault is inhabited and surrounded by fiends. No longer feeling guilt for my actions and planning to take a grasp on the entire Mojave for myself, I go in guns blazing and clear out the outside camp. Inside though, I play it cool and sneak past to get the parts. The final parts are in Vault 22. Not much to say about the vault, just that this mod I have installed for another video might be messing with Veronica's AI, as she's not her normal bloodthirsty self. After collecting the parts, I let Veronica respectfully explain her fears and worries about this chapter to her elder before brutally getting ignored. Determined to prove him wrong, I go to stop an assassination. Why? I don't know, actually. President Kimball's death probably would have made the damn fight easier. Sneaking to the substation, I implant the chip to gain control over the dam's power before going back to Meek Arcade in the followers camp at Freeside. Now, I know I currently have 2 companions, but don't worry, he won't be here long at all, as I'm using him just to get the Enclave Revenants to help fight in the final fight. Me and Veronica are nowhere near as strong as needed to go toe-to-toe with the Legate and his boy band. After collecting the old folks home, I stop one of them from having a mental break before Arcade asks really nicely if you could win the Hoover Dam fight. I tell him to fuck off, but then a random injured NCR soldier breaks into a highly classified Enclave base with a broken leg just to tell me that the substation I broke into so long ago was off limits. How the fuck did she get in? Getting the Ganon family armor, I'm ready to go fight the Hero of Time, who is sided with the Legion of all people for some unknown reason. I'm too tired to write a script detailing what I did at the dam, so you're gonna have a cool action montage. But keep in mind 2 things. 1, I can't use my gun while I'm on or in the dam. And 2, secret surprise tool that will help us later. I have to interject here, because as you can see, I'm back against the wall, drops at the ground. Now you see, in Nevada state law, I'm allowed to use lethal self-defense on one condition and one condition only. If my opponent has a lethal weapon nearby. Now, that Tesla cannon looks pretty damn lethal, you know what I mean? Veronica's dead body was lying there in front of me, and I blacked out. By the time I regained consciousness, there was only one guy left, and the legate was stripped naked and shot in the head. So bizarre. So bizarre. Still rattled with grief and, I'm not even gonna lie, a couple brain injuries. I talked to General Lee Oliver and just politely told him to get out of the Mojave. Get out and just don't ever come back. With a heavy heart, I lay claim over the entirety of the Mojave. Or at least, that's what I thought. The fiends took over most of Outer Vegas, killing and maiming anyone in their path. The powder gangers, the ones who I never stopped, just took hold and killed everyone in Good Springs. Freeside was no better. Even though Arcade was there to help, the followers were too overwhelmed and Freeside burned. Many people died. There was rampaging in the streets. Rampaging I had to put down. Now, with Yes Men's help, I am the president, CEO, and sole proprietor of the New Vegas Strip, with all 3 tribes listening to me. The new Mr. House. Mr. Law. Luke Law. That's the outro bit. You gotta put the outro. Hey people, Hammerhead here. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching all the way to the end of this kind of like faux pas challenge run. It really wasn't at the very end. I tried to follow Nevada state law, but I'm going to be completely honest. I only looked up self-defense laws and like a few traffic laws. I did not do this as well as I could have, and you'll probably find a better version of this challenge run out there somewhere where they sided with like the NCR. I don't know. This was, just for shits and giggles to see if like you guys fuck with New Vegas content, or else I'm just like, restricted to only posting Cruelty Squad. That's why there hasn't been a lot of content recently, because I've just been playing the fuck out of New Vegas. I've been loving this. I don't I don't want to keep you guys here. Anyways, thank you for watching. You guys are the goats. Thank you to my homeboy Miles for, cooking up this fucking thumbnail. It's fire. Anyways, thank you from my bottom of my heart. Happy Thanksgiving, because this will be posted on Thanksgiving. I'm recording this right now at 2:35 in the morning, and my mom's spamming my ass, saying like, "You gotta put the chicken in the oven, girl. You gotta put it in here." Anyways, I'm gonna shut up. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and thank you all for watching. I still can't do outros.